What's up guys, Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about testosterone levels and if they are actually declining like everyone claims they are with environmental toxins and phytoestrogens and stuff like that. So I'm not going to argue with the fact that our environment is becoming more and more, toxic in certain aspects and can have a deleterious effect on your hormone profile and your overall health in general. But one thing that is often commonly referred to is this idea that back in the day, all the men had like 1,500 nanogram deciliter test levels, and our great grandparents had like 2,000 nanogram per deciliter test levels, and now the average is like 500 to 600, and it's just getting worse, and men are getting destroyed, and we're becoming females and blah blah blah, and like our great grandpas were like so fucking masculine, and now we all suck. And it's like, again, I agree that all of the artificial stuff is not making things better by any means, but I think it is often misleading to represent that somehow your grandpa had a 2,000 nanogram per deciliter test level, because this is actually some data I got from Victor Black, who is another person in this niche who I defer to a lot on, topics like this, that I feel is a credible source of information. And I would definitely give him a follow if you haven't, because he is a great source of anything hormone related. I often defer to him on stuff like this, and he provided a very good chart I had no idea even existed on body composition analysis of male soldiers over the past almost 200 years. And one thing that is, it's often assumed for some reason that the older men back, each generation back, had better testosterone production for whatever reason. And he presented this table that I'm going to present to you guys that I thought was sort of reinforces what I already believed previously. It's called the comparison of some anthropometric characteristics of male soldiers in 1864, 1919, 1946, and 1984. So we're comparing the body composition of soldiers in these time frames, and we're assuming their testosterone levels are diminishing, by the decade. They're getting worse and worse, like everyone, claims all the time. So by 1984, and by now, you would assume things are worse than they were in 1864, obviously, because our great grandparents had the best test levels, right? So here we have the number of men in the study. So 1864, we're counting, this isn't a small sample size. This is, in 1864, we had 23,624 men. In 1919, we're counting 99,449 men. 1946, we're counting 85,000. And then in 1984, we're looking at 869. So a lot less in 1984, but still, essentially, we might as well tack on 2020 to the end of this, and you can kind of go by baseline metrics of what you can see are, body composition metrics achieved now. So back in 1864, the average height here was 67.2 inches. Now, in 1919, it was 67.7 inches. In 1946, 68.4 inches. And in 1984, 68.6 inches. So instead of going backwards, it seems like things are progressing. Now we look at weight. 141.4 pounds in 1864. 1919, 144.9 pounds. 1946, 154.8 pounds. 1984, 166.8 pounds. Average age we're looking at in the sample size is about the same. We're looking at like 25-year-olds here. The neck girth in inches, 13.6 inches in 1864. 1919, 14.2 inches. 1946, 14.5 inches. 1984, 14.5 inches. Chest girth throughout all the years doesn't get worse. It gets better as you go from 1864, goes from 34.5 all the way to peaking in 1946 at 36.4, and then 1984 it's 35.5, which obviously is easily could be, just a variable in terms of just the men included in the sample size. Looking at the waist size, we have 31.5 that goes down to 31.4 in 1919, and then down to 31.3 in 1946. And then it jumps up to 32.7 in 1984. But even that jump would not account for necessarily the fact that men have gained over 25 pounds on average since 1864. So obviously a significant amount of that is lean tissue. Estimated body fat, we have 16.9% in 1864, 1919, 15.7%, 1946, 14.4%, and then in 1984, 17.3%. So fat-free mass now, the metric that we all want to see. 1864, 117 pounds. 1919, 122 pounds. 1946, 133 pounds. 1984, 138 pounds. So, despite the fact that our great-grandparents somehow, apparently, had 2,000 nanogram per deciliter test levels, and then our great-grandparents had the 2000s, and then our grandparents had like 1500 to 1800, and then our dads had, you know, like 1200 to 1500, and now we have like 700 to 800 because we're just like so shitty. But somehow, fat-free mass and muscle tissue and height and every other metric determining body composition progression has improved over the past century and a half. So, do I necessarily think that test levels are exponentially getting worse by the decade? I think there are factors in the current environment, in like the industrial era and all this shit moving forward and all the environmental toxins and whatnot, that do impact our ability to process and metabolize hormones. And as a byproduct, we have certain functions that are inhibited as a result of a buildup of toxins and increased exposure to a lot of things that are otherwise, you know, carcinogenic, or, you know, things that are going to impede certain physiologic processes in the body. As far as endogenous androgen production though, the only way you're going to see, if you would, like, we know for a fact there's a dose-dependent increase in muscle mass when you take testosterone. Like, we've seen this in the clinical data many times. I've done a video too showing exactly how much muscle mass 25, 50, 125, 300, and 600 milligrams of testosterone produces. And I'm sure you've seen the study too. It's like dose response in healthy young adults of testosterone. The same thing applies with endogenous testosterone. The more testosterone you have, in general, the more muscle you're gonna have. It's just how it works. The more anabolic steroids in your body, even though testosterone is not technically an anabolic steroid, it's an androgen, but anyways, the more you have in your body, the more muscle you're gonna have. So is it logical to conclude that our great-grandparents had 2,000 nanogram per deciliter test levels in the 1800s when they were sporting over 20 pounds less muscle mass on average than our parents were in 1984 or something? Or, you know, for some of you guys watching my channel, like you were in 1984, like whatever your age bracket is. No, like I don't think that's a logical conclusion to make whatsoever. So what is the, you know, takeaway from all this? It's not necessarily that anyone is, you know, I'm not trying to like shit on the whole idea or anything. I'm just saying I think it's foolish to assume that we are progressing negatively as a, you know, a gender, I guess. I don't know. Like I see this statistic thrown around all the time. It's like, oh, we're fucking terrible. The men suck now because we all have like such low test levels. I think it's just, you know, the current state of everything, and certain things that we're exposing ourselves to are impairing health. That's, you know, the bottom line. I don't think we're necessarily like, if anything, we're progressing in terms of a body composition context. So when people want to talk about, you know, test levels are getting way worse, I'd be interested to see like what was the test level in 1864, because surely it wasn't 2,000 nanograms. Because I can promise you, if you're natural right now with a 700 nanogram per deciliter test level, which is what some labs would consider high normal now, if you push that up to 2,000 nanograms, you sure as fuck wouldn't lose 21 pounds of muscle. You would gain a lot. So I don't know like where this is coming from, but I thought it was worth making a video on. And I'm surprised no one's actually touched on this. Maybe it's just no one's seen this data. And honestly, right when I saw it, I knew I had to make a video about it. I noted it down because this is something I see all the time in the HRT community. And it's not necessarily a bad thing to focus on, because it's more about the whole idea behind it is a good idea of trying to optimize your your health. Like the whole justification behind like bringing up this statistic is how men are trying to optimize their hormones and balance out and get rid of, you know, shitty things that activate estrogen receptors that are like artificial and, you know, stuff like that. But just to claim that, you know, like we're so shitty now that we need exogenous testosterone to reach the same test level that the ball sack of our great grandparents could produce naturally, that's just not true. So anyways, take from that what you will. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates_moredates. Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, BitChute, TikTok, Apple Podcasts, wherever I am. Subscribe to the mailing list. The first link in the description below if you want to get notified anytime I put out an article with anything related to bodybuilding pharmacology or anything related to hormone optimization, anything of that nature. You will get sent the articles directly to your email right as they're published if you sign up for that. Otherwise, you're not going to get them. They're more elaborate with subsections, table of contents. It's more palatable in my videos, in my opinion, and they are far more in-depth. And they also have hyperlinks to the clinical studies I referenced that you can actually delve into yourself. So thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.